Okay. Welcome everyone to our class in how to appreciate the depth of Torah learning. What I want to do today is now go to the next level, which is the level of analysis in the Gemara. Okay? But before I do that, I forgot to open up a file, so let me just open up a file here. Recent. Here we go. Okay. Now, the Torah that we're dealing with is the section that deals with injuring other people or other people's property. And what we did was we noticed that in the format limitation, the Chumash goes from the most Chomer to the less Chomer. So it starts off with cases of capital punishment, and starts off with the worst case scenario, which is a man rachmas killing another man. Okay, and then it starts, as we spoke about, goes in descending levels of severeness. Okay, so it drops to the man being the aggressor and the man being the victim. It then starts the animal to man relationship. Okay, it drops one side of the equation from man to animal to killing man. And that was the shore. If you notice that this is my red. My red means here was the victim. This the shore killing the man is the last case of human casualties. From now on, we're going to start talking about either animal casualties or movable casualties or property casualties. Okay, so the first one in that series started with boar, and the boar was only chayav for the shore and the chamor, and man is not in the picture anymore as a victim. Okay, then after the boar, we had the shore also damaging the shore. Okay, and then we had the ganav, who's also damaging, stealing the shore. So that was a series of the victims being the shore. Now, we're focusing and we're concentrating on the next level down, which is not when the victim now moves from animals to produce. And that's this next pasuk, which talks about the sending in your animal into another person's field and him destroying the field, and you have to pay with the best of your field. The final series in this type of damage is going to be fire going into another person's property, and there it's not only going to damage corn, standing crops, it's also going to damage the field itself. So it's going to be even if it burns up rocks and stuff like that and destroys physical property and not produce. But in this level that we're speaking about, it's the level of the shein and the regel. The shein and the regel is the animal walking into another man's property, and then he is going to be eating produce, or he's going to be trampling over produce. Very good. Okay. Now, when it came to capital punishment, okay, we understood a man murders another man, mida keneged mida, he can get killed. When it comes to damage to property, so then the situation changes. So in the boar, for instance, was what we said is the change to the victim, so to speak, here now being another animal. All of a sudden, we saw in the boar, Bal Yishalem Kesev Yoshiv L'Balav. That was the din. In other words, if you open a boar, you build a boar, or you dig a boar, and an animal falls inside it, the shore, the chamor, and he dies, so the owner of the boar has to Yishalem Kesef. And then it says this extra word Yashid, which we're going to learn. It's an extra word, so it comes to include even things which are equal to Kesef. You don't have to actually give him the silver coins, the nice the dollar bills, but you can even give him things which are worth Kesef. Okay. Then when the animal, so that was the boar. Then when the animal damages another animal, he kills another animal, there again, we made a distinction between if it's the first time or the third time, which is a chiddush, that you, the first 3 times only pay half damages, but again, the din is Yishalem, Shalem Yishalem, Shor Tachas Shor. So you're going to have to pay compensation. That's it. No murder over here because it wasn't capital punishment. The only thing that died was an animal, so you have to now pay back what you did. The Ganef, he has an unusual din because he's going to have to pay back 2 Yishalem Shnayim. He's paid 2. Now that extra payment is called a knas. Anything over the compensation is a penalty. So Shem slaps him on the wrist, you're a bad boy, you stole, you have to pay back twice. It was a big animal, you have to pay back maybe 4, depending how big it was. Okay, and then we came to our din in Shein V'Regel. Now in Shein V'Regel, we noticed that there's a Shinui din. All of a sudden, let me just go to Eish. In Eish, which was the last din, it says Shalem Yishalem Hamava Es Havero. You see, when you burnt down the Gadish or the Hakama, you have to pay for what you destroyed. Okay, so everything looks fine except when we come to this pasuk. When we come to the pasuk where the animal destroys the other person's property, here the Torah dictates Meitav Zeh or Meitav Kamer Yishalem. You have to pay with the best of your field. Now, we learned in one of the basic books that we're doing on how to learn Gemara, he says always look for Shinui Lashon, Shinui Inyan, or Shinui Din, which means Manishtana. We said in the Haggadah. You always have to look for something that's different. Something that's different means that there's some new concept and new idea happening here. Okay. So the big question that we're going to be involved with is Manishtana. Why all of a sudden in this case does this concept of paying with the best of your land or the best of your vineyard come? Why isn't it like all the other things? Either, in other words, we've seen 2 payments, either tit for tat, whatever you destroyed, replace, or a knas if you're a bad boy, so you may have to pay twice for stealing. Okay, that's called a knas. That's when you pay more than the compensation. Okay, we even saw a hanacha, a 50% reduction in the case of a middle case of the Karen. Since the Karen is a middle animal, he's halfway between a dangerous animal who would pay nezek shalom and a tame animal. So you have 3 chances. You have first 3 times you're given a warning or a 50% reduction. But the basic principle here is that you only have 2 ideas here, 2 concepts. Either you pay tit for tat, or there's some sort of penalty being proffered here by the Torah. So the diyun here is, how can we understand why the Torah obligated us to pay with the best of our land? Okay, that's going to be what's on the floor here. Clear so far?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Okay, so we discussed the last time. Let me just close out of this. Let's not save that. The last time we were together, we started entering the second stage of decompression, of opening up the precise meaning of the Torah, and that was in the Mishnah. And we really only did the beginning, and very quickly we just summarized the end. But so let's just go back to that stage. Stage 2 we wanted to see is what is the Mishnah adding to what the Chumash says. Okay, so the Mishnah told us that there were 4 avos in the Zikin, the Shor, the Bor, the Mav, and the Hever. We had a whole discussion about who they are and what the order is and if we follow the order. Okay, then the second part of the Mishnah explained to us why we need 4 verses to teach us a simple din, which should be you have to pay for what you damage. So the Mishnah went through this whole analysis, which we didn't do in depth at all, but why each one, you'd have had the wrong idea if you had tried to learn from another one. Then the third step of the Mishnah was called something called the Tzad HaShavah Shebehen. Now, a Tzad HaShavah Shebehen is a way to generate a new case by taking 2 cases which are given and showing that the reason why these 2 cases are chayev, or obligated, is because of a commonality between the 2 given cases which are written. That's called a tzad hashava. There's a common quality in 2 pesukim which will generate other cases. That's called the tzad hashava. And in this, and the Gemara explains what type of this tzad hashava is. For instance, if you put your packages on your roof, and you know that there's a ruach matsuya, you know that the wind can drop, blow these packages off, okay? So sure enough, the wind comes and blows the packages off in the street, and someone trips on your packages. So this is a combination case, because on one hand, you didn't put it in the street, you didn't make the bore, the wind made the bore. On the other hand, and that would be called eish, because it moves the eish, it moves the bore. So, but it's not eish because it didn't hit him while it was moving directly. It was hit. The person got him after it was in its place. The Gemara explains that that's an example of where we have to use 2 of the cases. That means bore and eish to come up with an obligation for this case. And again, just an overview of what's going on. Everything here requires deep analysis, but I just want to give an overview where we're going and where we came from in this mission, where we're going. Now, there's a commonality in these tzad hashava cases, is that all pay b'mei tava'aretz. Okay, so we had.
Does this apply to all 4 cases?
Yes. Well, not only 4 cases, but as we showed, it applies to all 26, if you remember. Okay, if you remember, there was that large gezerah shava. Okay, I'll just go back there. Yeah. There was a large gezerah shava that said tachas nesini shalom kesev, and that din, which is localized here in the pasuk Meitiv Karmo, through this word yishalem and tachas and nesina and kesev, this din is going to spread to actually 26 different cases. It's not 28, maybe 28 according to there's 26. Okay, so but that process of spreading the din is through what we call a gezerah shava, which is a special halacha Moshe Sinai, that there's a link between these cases through these words. Okay. So when we focus in on the seminal point of this whole din, it really is in this case of bor. We're going to take this case and we're going to watch it spread. But we first have to go back to its source. We always have to look at the source, and we have to see how every step of the way we're going to, there's a common phrase now called, what is it called? Expanding the envelope, or pushing the envelope? You ever hear that phrase?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it comes from, it doesn't matter, from airplanes, but it doesn't matter. It means that we used to say, okay, but you're extending the law, okay, into places where you wouldn't have extended it. So whenever you see something extended beyond what you would have thought, you have to have a reason why. Okay, it's not because I would like to. The Torah is very specific, and therefore every step of the way has to have its push. We're going to expand the borders of this din. So let's go back to the very, very, very heart, or the source of this whole din, and watch it begin to grow. Okay, and watch how it's going to grow. So the Mishnah, all the Mishnah told us here was that there is this din of paying with the best of your land is not localized to the case of the case in the Chumash, which is shor and regel. Okay, so let's see how that process happens. And my point here is to show you how to unzip the information. And I'm not going to do it. The Gemara, Baruch Hashem, is going to do it for us. Okay, so we're going to watch that process unfold. Okay, there's a Gemara here, and what I do here is I've tried to break the Gemara down visually. Okay, that's my little visual Chiddush helps us in understanding the flow of the information, where we started and where we're going in each step. So the Gemara starts with always, let me show you the page itself, okay, just to get you familiar with that. I don't know how fast that comes up on your screen. And you can just tell me if you see that.
Oh, no, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, now I see it.
Okay, I started flipping it a little, but okay. Now, the Gemara takes the Mishnah and goes, lav dafka line by line, but it goes from top to bottom. It starts analyzing each one of the phrases. And we said the Mishnah likes to talk about cases and laws. It usually doesn't tell us sources, and it doesn't tell us the reasons why the law is the law, which is we call a factor. The Gemara is going to link the Mishnah back to the Chumash. Now, remember that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, up to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, even, I mean, the law is you're not supposed to write down Torah Shabbat. It's a very, very important dynamic that the Torah has a written and an oral component. So he saw that the level of Torah was rapidly decreasing. There was a little bit of, let's say, sunshine in between the great storm of the destruction of of Israel during the Roman period, and during that period he got together all the Chachamim, and they compiled the Mishnah in our form. Okay, now a lot of information was left out because remember, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi everyone's condensing things to the maximum they can. They can't condense it beyond understanding, but they don't want to expand it any more than necessary. So the information that was left out was put together by Reb Chia and Reb Oshia, and they took all those brightot, the word bar means outside, all those outside Mishnayos material that was around, and they put it together in what's called the Breitot. Okay. The Gemara now is going to use those Breitot, those external texts, to amplify what the Mishnah is talking about. Okay. Sometimes there'll be a conflict, sometimes not. But we would like to presume homogeneity unless we're forced not to. Okay, so let's look at, here's again the page. We're up to the part in the Chumash here which says, I have one of these cute things now. Okay. Once a teacher, always a teacher, right? Okay. Here's the little line here in the Mishnah. L'shalem teshlumi nezek b'meitav haaretz. Okay. The Gemara now is going to start explaining that line through a brisa. Okay. So let's now. I'm going to flip back and forth from here to there, but let's go here. Now, here's the brisa. The brisa following. Tanu Rabbanan, our rabbis taught. First thing the brisa does is bring the pasuk. Meitiv sadehu umeitiv karmo yisham. That was exactly what the pasuk said. Meitiv, and here's the perish. The explanation of those words is Meitiv sadehu shel nizak, umeitiv karmo shel nizak. Divrei Rebbe Yishmael. When Rebbe Yishmael understood this pasuk, he said it was talking about the best field and vineyard of the victim. That's how his interpretation. Okay, because we said sadehu, this word sadehu, the best of his field, is called you. I think that's called a, what is called a indefinite pronoun. Who is the his? Who is it that has to be sold, paid? So rather surprisingly, Rebbe Yishmael says that's referring to the best of the victim's field, the nizak. Okay.
But it means that it's referring to the I guess monetary equivalent of the of that best, no? Or
very good.
Because
it doesn't make any sense. Right. Keep going.
I mean, it would have been. It's more commonsensical to say he's paying, that the payer is paying with his best field.
That's correct.
So if you're paying the victim, so obviously you're paying the equivalent of some type of equivalent of the value of the victim's best field.
Exactly. 100%. Rebbe Akiva's definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. That's called a chiddush.
Right.
When it's counted to its chiddush, now every chiddush needs a proof. Okay? Whenever you do say that the text means something out of the ordinary, then the burden of proof is on you. You've taken it out of its simple meaning, and now you're going to have to prove yourself. We do not see a proof here. We just see a QED. We see a conclusion of an argument, but we don't see how he got there. That's going to be the job of the Gemara. Okay? Good. Now, Rebbe Akiva, Bar Plukta, the foil of Rebbe Yishmael, says no. You're wrong. Lo ba hapasig ela ligvot linazikin mina'id. No, the pasuk is only coming to make a collection for the victim from the best quality. Meaning, what we always thought, the victim can collect from the best quality of the land. In other words, the mazik has to pay with the best quality of his land. Okay? And he adds, Kal v'chom elahegdish. If already the Torah required a mazik to pay with the best of his land, so a person who owes the Beis Hamikdash something will also have to do it with the best of his land. Okay. Now you see that these statements are almost impossible to understand in face value. They are compressed statements that are conclusions of very, very significant topics. And without the help of the Gemara, and also we'll see the Rishonim, there's no real way to understand what it's talking about. Okay? Now, of course, if you knew quite a lot of information and knew quite a lot of Mishnayos and knew quite a lot of Gemaras, then you'd also be able to be Rashi, right? You'd also be able to comment on it. But anyway, my point here is to show how brief the words are, the Chachamim, and how without the keys, it's very, very difficult to understand what they're saying. Okay, like a kal v'chomer lehegdish. So you have to know quite a lot about hegdish, what hegdish, and these are the type of things that the Gemara is going to now open up. Okay, so that's the brisa. The brisa has a machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel saying that this meitav sadehu means the meitav of the victim, and Rabbi Akiva says, come on, it's telling you that the aggressor has to pay. Okay. We're clear so far. Step 2. A brisa is at the level of a Mishnah. Now comes along the Gemara and starts an analyzation of this argument. Okay? The Gemara says the following. Now, I've tried to, besides making this flow chart, I've tried to narrow the flags of debates to reds and greens. Okay, I think we may have mentioned that the Ramchal has in his system a statement like these statements here that meitav is payment of the nizak and the meitav. Those are statements. Then we have questions that are asked and answers given to those questions. We bring up difficulties in the statement, like we were talking about. It seems these are counterintuitive, okay? And we resolve those difficulties. And then the other possibility is we can prove a statement false or true, by either bringing proof to the truth of the statement or prove the statement is false. Those are the 7 basic functions that go on, says the Ramchal, throughout the process of learning. You're either making a statement, asking a question, or responding to a question, bringing up a difficulty in the original statement, or resolving that difficulty, proving the statement is true or false. That's it. I tried to reduce these to 3 colors: black, red, and green. Black is a statement. Red is either a question or a difficulty being raised to the statement or proving the statement false. Those are what I call my reds. And then we have the greens. The greens will answer questions, solve difficulties, or bring proofs. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is streamline a very sophisticated system so that we can keep track of what's going on. Okay, so the first thing the Gemara does is have a problem, which is a kasha, and it's what I call a red problem, right? And this is the problem. Urebi Shmuel, ochel shmeina, mishalem shmeina. According to Rabbi Shmuel, we're talking about, first of all, we have to decide what are we talking about in Rabbi Shmuel. It's obvious that the nizak, the victim, is not going to be paying here, right? So what was your analysis? What does he mean?
You mean by this statement?
By the statement that, yeah, that the Meitav is referring to the Nizak?
Well, if I don't
You don't follow.
follow.
Okay. What I'm saying like this, you said it before, but if there's a din that there's something in the payment, let's say, of damages is going to occur in the Nizak's field. Okay, so the Gemara is presuming here the simple case that Rabbi Shmuel is saying that no matter what you damage in the Nizak's field, you'll always have to pay him for the best.
Right.
Okay.
But how do you? But Shemina, in other words, I mean, I understand this
Okay.
idea. If he is consuming the best, he should pay the best.
That's
But I
right.
guess, and if he's
Kahusha,
so he should pay the best either way.
yes, but now that's a kasha. Okay, that's why I put the little bang at the end of it, and it's a thing. What does it mean? We can understand if he eats the best of his friends, he has to pay with the best, right? But the simple meaning of Rabbi Yeshua is that he always has to pay as if he damaged the best, which would mean even if he damaged the worst, he would have to pay for the best. Say the person.
Does this imply? I'm not following. Does this Mishalem Shemena? Does that imply somehow that it's the Nizak's land, best of his land? Is Shemena referring to the Nizak, or why could it also not refer to the Mazik? Can you say, or the one who does the damage?
It is, but what does it mean? It means that the Mazik has to pay for the damage done to the Nizak's property in any case with the best of the Nizak's property, according to the Nizak's property. Okay? Let me show that to you. Okay, a little better. Rashi. Now you'll see why you need what Rashi helped adds. He's the next level, but it's not. We're going to talk about it. Okay. Rashi first comments on Meitav Sedeu Shel Nizak, right? He's going to explain to us what is the starting position before we have this kasha, right? So he says like this: She'im ochla ruga b'sodehu shamin aruga mishubachas shel Nizak. You see, that's very, very helpful. What does he say? He says, what it means, what Rabbi Shmuel means is that if you eat, if your animal ate a roe in the field of your friend, then you have to pay back a roe which is mishubach, a meitav roe. So say he has three levels of produce. He has grade A, grade B, and grade C. Okay? Your animal ate grade C. The Torah says you have to pay him as if your animal ate grade A.
Is Rashi not saying im achla aruga b'sadehu shehi? In other words, this aruga mean aruga mishubacha shamazik, or is that I'm misunderstanding it?
Okay, he's saying meitav sedeo, meitav karmo is what you always have to pay back, what you always have to pay for in your damage. Let's talk about estimating damage. Okay, I want to estimate. We send in the shammai. Who's that called? The adjuster. I don't know what he's called. There's a person who estimates damage in insurance, for instance. I think he's called an insurance adjuster or something. Anyway, he estimates. The person gives an estimation of what the damage was. So you send in the person, right? And he looks at the field. He says, oh, you damaged grade C property, but you know something? You have to pay him grade as if you damaged a row of grade A property. Meitiv Sadehu of the Nizak, you always have to pay. That's how Rabbi Shmuel in the first position is learning. You always have to pay no matter what was damaged according to the best of the victim's field. Even if you destroyed the worst. Okay, he has a grade C is worth $10 a bushel, and we're going to charge you now $50 a bushel as if you destroyed the best. Because it says Meitev Sadeu Shel Nizak.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Rashi setting up the simple meaning of Rebbe Shmuel. I mean, because again, you have to think, what does it mean that you have to pay? Look, the Nizak doesn't have to pay anything, obviously. So the simple meaning of what Rebbe Shmuel is saying is that you always have to pay the best of the Nizak's property, even if you damage the worst. Okay? What do you have to do? Kama yafa akshav, imperasov, kama tehe yafe perasov, and nosim lo. You look at the best grade A field, a grade A row, and you say, well, how much would this row of vineyards go with and without fruit? Okay, and he has to pay the difference because your animal took the fruit off his vineyard. Your animal took the fruit off the grade C vineyard, only worth 10 a bushel, but you have to pay back as if your animal took off from the grade A bushel. That's the simple meaning of what Rabbi Shmuel is saying. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, Rashi explains to us, what does Rebbe Kiva say? Rebbe Kiva says, no, the pasuk is only coming to collect from Nizikin, from the collect for the Nizak from the best. And he adds of the Mazik, you see. So, and that's what we thought was a simple meaning, that the Mazik has to always pay back from the best of his field. So what does Rashi explain? He spells it out. Maruga shel nizak. Of course, you have to do an evaluation of the damage, but you do it lefi mashahu. Exactly what he destroyed, what the animal destroyed. Im mazik bo liten lo karka. But if the mazik now wants to pay back with land, with the main isco, the value of that grade C that he destroyed, nosen lo meitav sadeu shava osen namin. Then he has to take his own good field and give him the payback from his best field. In other words, he did $100 worth of damage. That's exactly what he'll pay back. But if he decides to pay back with his field, he's going to have to pay back with his best field. In other words, he'll give him less of a field, but it's a higher quality field than a larger area, which is does not produce very much, or doesn't produce as much. Okay.
I want to ask a simple question here.
Yes.
The bull, the shore is destroying produce, right?
Correct.
So why is he being paid back with real estate? He's not being paid back with produce here, is he?
No, he's not being paid back with produce.
It seems like a very heavy. It's incommensurate. I mean, he destroys some potatoes or some tomatoes, and he's getting property for this. It seems like he's getting a very good deal.
Now,
this is
let's expand on that statement you just made. First of all, let's be very clear. If he sold that property, let's say $100 of damage was done. If he sold the property, how much would he get market price? For the
if he sold.
If he say you paid him back with the best of your field, right? And then he went and he sold it right away, what would he get? You would get $100, right?
Okay.
If you gave him the worst property and he sold it today, what would he get? Also
Whatever.
$100.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
You with me? It's a very important big
Yeah,
point
yeah, yeah.
to keep straight. He's not going to be shortchanged. The only thing he's gaining is quality of land.
But I'm asking something else. It seems
You're saying why pay him in land, pay him in money, pay him in something, pay him in fruit,
in
right?
vegetables. Yeah, exactly.
And vegetables. Okay?
I mean, even if the bull ate a big patch of vegetables, but you're giving him a piece of property that could produce vegetables for perpetuity. It's not,
Okay, but
I
now
don't.
how
I guess
much? Yeah, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
don't even understand exactly how are they figuring this out. I mean, $100 worth of destroyed tomatoes. What is it like? It's a square foot of land.
Exactly. It'd be a very small piece of land.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay? Could be a very, very tiny little piece of land. It may,
Yeah.
okay? And then we have to, where is the land? Is it next to his land? I mean, is it in the middle of the field? What good is it in the middle of the field? Now you're opening up the topic. I mean, these are the questions that must be asked because we're going to have to open up and clearly understand all the details here. Okay, but your first thing about being incommensurate, okay, I thought you were saying like this, why is he paying him back in land? Let him pay him back in money, right? Well, what is this? So, and then I was going to ask, well, is it really a, is it really like a penalty that we're imposing on the mazik by having him pay back the best of land? I mean, who's losing here and who's gaining here? When the Torah says you have to pay back, according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to pay back with the best of the land. Is there a loser and a gainer, a loser or a gainer, or both? What's going on? Is it an and an or? What's the message of the Torah by saying, look, according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to pay him back with the best of your land? What's the message?
I'm with you.
Okay, so this is the issue. That's a very serious issue. This is on. This is it. We're only trying to understand those words in the Torah. Okay, and these great Tanaim are giving us their insight to what those words mean, and they have two rather radically different interpretations of what the Torah is doing. Now, I want to say another point here. There's two words in Hebrew, ma and lama. What does ma mean?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
yeah.
What and why?
What?
There's the ma and the lima. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you say that in German?
Like what's in English? It's wherefore, right? It's the
Yeah,
actually
wherefore.
yeah. Yeah, where like
Oh,
Romeo.
I think they say quoi and pourquoi in French, right?
Yeah, pourquoi is for what? That's right. That's the
For
same as
what,
in English.
right? Pourquoi.
Right.
But I don't know what warum is. I know warum is why in German. But
Warum is
anyway.
why? Yeah, but you can say wofür, whatever. Okay.
Okay. So what am I getting at? There's always the what, and there's the why of the what. Okay. Now, the first thing you have to always know is the what, because you can't talk about a why unless you're clear about the what, right? I can't explain to you why something is the way it is if I don't know what it is. Okay. So the first thing I have to know is what are we talking about? After I have determined what we're talking about, then I can give you an explanation of why that is the way it is. Okay? That's my little Kiddush of Man Lama, by the way. It's a little language thing, but I think it's very, very
important. It works very well with French.
With French it works.
Hebrew, right?
And Hebrew, yeah. I don't know about the German, but we'll work on it. Okay, in Swahili, I don't know if they got to that level yet. But Bekitzer, when the Torah says that you have to give the best of your field, the first thing we have to determine is the what. Okay, like what are we talking about? Which is, whose field are we talking about? Okay, and what is the universe are we talking about? After I understand the where this object is located and the universe of the object, which I'll explain in a second, then I can start to understand, well, why did the Torah say such a thing? Okay, so now the what here is either the land of the Nizak or the land of the Mazik. And the Torah is telling us to either give the best land of the Nizak or the best land of the Mazik. Okay, so there's two different universes here. When it comes to the Mazik, we talk about tashlumin, payment. Okay, so we say, okay, when you want to pay, you pay with your best land. When we talk about the Mazik having to pay according to the best of the Nizak, then we talk about evaluation. Shuma, which is evaluation. Okay, so it means, as Rashi's explaining here in level 1, that Rebbe Yishmael holds that no matter what you damage, you're going to have to pay according to the best of the Nizak. As if you damage the best of the Nizak's land, no matter what you damaged. Okay?
Yeah. See, I guess this is funny. Okay, this is
Go ahead,
question.
please. No, the question is very important.
No matter which part of the victim's land you've damaged, you have to pay with the best. But
which side are you talking about? Evaluation, or are you talking about the payment, or the tashlum, the payment side? You have to be clear about that. Rebbe Akiva or Rebbe Yishmael?
Well, I think I don't know. I don't know because maybe I'm not following this well enough. But
okay, so
it seems to be like there's two different types of land here. There's the, like you're saying, okay, you destroyed, no matter which part of land that your bull destroyed, you have to pay with his best, as if he destroyed his best land.
Right.
I assume we're talking about his best crops on his best. When it was saying best land, it was saying his best patch of land, which had the best crops.
Yeah.
So, again, so I don't understand why, but I guess maybe it's just too early to ask the question, is why am I paying not with crops, but with actual soil, with real estate, you know?
That's a very good question.
It seems like two different things that I don't get how they coming together.
Right. There is a gap between those two things. There is a gap there that has to be explained. That gap is one of the questions that must be explained. What are you paying with land for? What's the connection between the damage done to produce and paying with land? What is that connection? The Torah is clearly saying it. It clearly says when your animal goes into the other field and he eats produce, you pay with the best of your land. How could you put those two concepts together? Pay with money, like everything else. Shalem, you shalem. Shor, tachas ashor. You know, replace what you destroyed. All of a sudden over here, the Torah says, no, you got to give him land. Well, what are they giving land for? Not only do you have to give him land, you have to give him the best of either his land or your land, depending on how we're going to learn it.
The best, either way, I guess when it's saying the best of his land, we're not talking about crops anymore. We don't care what part of his land your bull destroyed.
Well,
that's not. I guess that's.
What does that mean exactly? The best of his land means the aruga which produced on his land the best produce. The row, the best. You know, you have to pay according to grade A land that he has.
Okay.
In other words, the evaluation is not done as if you destroyed what you destroyed. You destroyed grade C, so let's give it $50. No, you have to pay $300 as if you destroyed a row of grade A.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's totally, you talk about counterintuitive.
Yeah, it is. It's very weird.
Couldn't be more than that, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Gemara agrees with that, by the way, even though that would be the simplest. In other words, you have to put your head thinking about what does it mean, the field of the Nizak. The simple meaning is that you have to pay as if you damage the best of his land. If you're going to say that it's on the Nizak, which is Rabbi Shmuel's position, okay? That's the simple meaning, that you have to always pay according to the best of the Nizak's land. All right? So that's going to mean that the Nizak is going to get a windfall. And again, I ask you, I had a student that always used to like to say, is it Baruch Mordechai or Haman? Are we trying to, what are we trying to do by, let's say, with Rabbi Shmuel, when we evaluate, are we trying to hurt the mazik or help the nizak? Who's getting the benefit of this? Okay, so if we learn simply, it looks like the nizak just got a windfall, right? Forget about your problem, why we're paying in land. He's definitely getting a windfall, if not by the land, but at least by the simple meaning. 50 bushels of his grade C crop just got destroyed, $50 worth, and now he's going to get $300 from the mazik. Well, he's a happy guy, right?
Right.
The question is, so then why would the Torah, again, if that's the what, so why would the Torah say such a thing?
It's also, again, it's not that say, okay, hypothetical scenario, say he's doing a bit of crop rotation that year. And so he said, it's not Shemitah, but similar to Shemitah, where you allow one field to be to lie fallow for 1 year. Not for Shemitah reasons, because it's only one. He's doing one part of his field. He's not growing things on. Yeah. A bull goes in there, destroy, and that actually happens to be the best land he has, the one that is lying fallow. The bull is going in there, destroying crops on some other piece of land, which has nothing to do with the nice piece of land. It's grade C land.
Exactly.
Grade C crops. Yeah. And then you're saying, okay, no, but you have to pay as if he walked on the grade A crops, which are not even growing that year.
Okay, now you're asking another very interesting question. Do the crops have to actually be exist or not? That would be pushing the the question even further. So we could say no. We could say no. You have to say the best of the crops that he has. Okay, you're lying fallow. I don't know. And again,
This is my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question, because I'm trying. I mean, I just came up with that as a kind of nafkamina, because I still don't get how we can pay for destruction of crops with real estate. So that's why I'm saying that. Imagine that real estate is not even growing anything.
Okay, so we have to understand that one way of handling the world is, there's two things in the world. There's money. Okay, money doesn't. There's money in things. Okay, things are worth money. Okay, but money doesn't have the advantage of a thing, because you have to buy the thing, right? Money's very good because you can buy anything, but it's always convertible. You have to convert it to the thing. You with me?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you pay back, for instance, let's give an example. If a person damaged someone's, killed his cow, well, the guy would probably just want another cow real fast, probably like that. Just give me a new cow, and I will have a problem. Is he as healthy as my cow? Not as healthy as my cow. Okay, that's all sorts of estimations. But, it could be that the thing is more important than the money. Because the money has to go out and it's got to find the cow and investigate the cow and all these things. You know what I mean? Okay. So sometimes the thing could be more important to a person than the value. And sometimes the value is more important than the thing. Right? And that's the reality. So here, when we say that he has to pay back in land, land is quite, we're talking about a person who did lose land, lose produce, by the way. Okay, so land is an important commodity for him. Okay, I wonder also, when you pay back in land, you have to pay him back, like, not just with a strip of soil. Maybe you have to pay him, give him an aruga, which is grade A. You know what I'm saying? You have to replace that. You destroyed, let's make it easy before we get into complications. You destroyed grade A road, and a row of, make it easy, a vineyard with Marlowe grapes, grade A. So give him a row of grade A grapes, row A, right? That would be the simple understanding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For one season, though.
That's why for one season you'd have to say that, because you're right, only for one season. All right, or just give him three, give him three plants, and he can have it forever. That's a question of how you evaluate crops over time. That's a whole estimation that has to be done. Okay, but some people, my original thesis here is that, or analysis is that sometimes land is better than money and sometimes money is land. All we're saying here is, simply speaking, is if you want to pay him in land, so pay him with the best land. We're going to have to understand this is the beginning of quite a lengthy analysis. Part of our analysis is going to be the priority of payment. We're going to see basically there's three forms of payment. There's money, there's land, and then there's movables. Those are the three forms of payment that we have. Our investigation as we go through this piece is going to be, is there a priority of one over the other? Can you give either money, land, or movables, of course, equal to the value of your damage, or is there some priority, i.e. maybe money is the first thing that you have to give. If you don't have money, maybe then you can give land, and if you don't have land, then you can go give your movables, okay, or some combination of those, okay. So that's another window, so to speak, we're going to have to go into in our analysis. Okay, but we're starting on point A, which is, where is this land that the Torah is telling us to pay with? Does it mean pay according to the best land of the Nizak, or does it mean pay with your best land if you want to pay? Okay, now, the question of whether it is only best land or even best land, or the priority between land and money and movables, be a further stage in our investigation. Okay, but the first presentation here is trying to determine where is this best land? Is it the best land of the Nizak or the Mazik? Where is it? Then once we can determine that, then we can start getting involved in other questions of why land and is there a priority or not. And all these questions, believe me, are all going to be brought up, okay? So the first presentation here, though, is a presentation of material which has a machlokus between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva about which land are we talking about, okay? Now, the most intuitive is Rabbi Akiva, because he says, when you want to pay back with land, so give the best. Don't try to unload this guy with $100 worth of grade C land, which he can't use very easily, and which if he's going to sell is going to be very difficult. Okay, usability and value, those 2 points that we're talking about. Give him the best. So Rabbi Akiva is much more reasonable, it seems, than Rabbi Shmuel. But we have to explain Rabbi Shmuel also, and we have to make sure that he's reasonable. Okay, we can't get him into a position where it's much easier to say what Rabbi Akiva said. He must have understood Rabbi Akiva's position and rejected it for some reason. Okay, so we have to go through that whole analysis to find out clearly what he says. Okay, so let's go back and try to move a little into this analysis. Okay, the Gemara starts with the simple understanding of Rabbi Shmuel, which means that you're going to have to pay back according to the value of the Nizak's best land. And it raises an objection. It says this cannot be what Rabbi Shmuel means. That cannot be his meaning. That cannot be his meaning. Why? Because it won't make sense. Ochel shmeina mishalem shmeina, okel kachusha mishalem shmeina. That's the objection. Now the question is, what is that action? Okay, it simply says, wait a minute, if you're trying to tell me that Rabbi Shmuel means that you pay by the best land of the Nizak, so it'll come out that if you damaged a grade A piece of land, you'll have to pay grade A, but if you damaged a grade C of land, you'll still have to pay grade A. The Gemara says that doesn't make any sense. Now the question is, why doesn't it make sense? So we have to spell out why it doesn't make sense. So Tosfos, I just want to now introduce you to Tosfos, okay? I'm going to introduce you to Tosfos. Tosfos, we said, is the grandchildren of Rashi. Oh, I should read Rashi, but I'm going to read Tosfos, okay? I can read Rashi also if you like, but let's read Tosfos. Tosfos is like this parish. Tosfos wants to explain what are the Gemara. Why is this an objection to saying that Rabbi Shmuel holds that you have to estimate the damage according to the best? So Tosfos says like this: Bishlema. This he explains is the objection the Gemara has to learning Rabbi Shmuel in its simple sense. Bishlema kol shmeina mishalem shmeina. Okay, it makes tit for tat. If he ate a nice grade A produce, you should pay back grade A produce. But ochel ella ochel kachusha amay mishalem shmeina. But there's no logic to say that if he ate grade C, he should pay grade A. This way Tosfos explains it. Okay. In other words, you won't find any reason why, any rational reason to explain why, if he destroys grade C, so he pays back grade C. If he destroys grade C, he destroys grade A, I'm sorry, he pays back grade A. If he destroys grade C, he still has to be paid back as if he destroyed grade A. Doesn't make sense. The question is, why doesn't it make sense? So there's what we said in the beginning is there's two reasons why you give money to someone. You're either, that we saw in the Chumash, either you're paying him back for what destroyed, or there's some form of knas. You're being punished because you're a bad boy, like the Ganav has to pay back 2 or 4 or 5, you see, depending on what he stole, okay? When you're a bad boy, we're going to punish you. So it's either a kanas or it's a compensation. I mean, it's just paying back tit for tat, okay? Now, why would the Torah, I'm just an interesting question, another interesting question to think about. What's the function of a knas? Let's say if I asked you, the Torah says if a person stole, he has to pay back twice. Okay, if he doesn't admit to it. What is the function of making a person pay more than what he did?
The different ways you could understand it, but it's like going to jail. I mean, it's either retributive, if there's a kind of retributive element, or even more, what do they call it? No, prohibitive. No, what's it called? When you send somebody to jail, you want to make them stop doing their crime in the future. What's that called? You're worried more about the future than just about. It's not just about the damage done in the past, but you don't want him to be a repeat offender. So you're kind of giving it to him hard, so he's now careful in the future.
As a punishment.
Yeah.
You're punishing him so he'll understand how bad it was what he did. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, punishment itself could be understood in two different ways. You're either, it's just compensation. You say punishment is really just compensation.
Punishment is not a good word because punishment could be compensation. That's also punishment.
Right. But a fine, like a knas, is more, it applies more than compensation. It means either there's in the worst case scenario, it's just there's a vengeance element. You just want to get him back. Or you want to teach him something somehow. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So it's 2 points. One is prophylactic, as they say. If a person knows, if a person knows that he's going to have to pay with the best of his fail, pay back twice, he's going to think twice about stealing or damaging a person's property. So it'll ensure that that a person will watch his things and not just say, in case whatever happens, happens. Okay, wait a minute. If I'm going to have to give back twice, or I'm going to have to pay back the best of my field, it pays for me to start watching my animal. So that'll prevent me from being lax in my guarding, right, of my animal. And the other svara that we could say is what you said, is that if it does happen, and he gets hit by having to give the best of his land, he'll learn his lesson, right? Say, I'm not going to do that again. So it's like I say, after the fact. It's either to teach him how bad it was or to prevent him from doing something. If he knows what the consequences are, he's not going to do it. So it's going to prevent him. Or it's going to teach him a lesson by taking away his stuff and say, wow, look what I lost. So that's knas, okay? Compensation is not giving any lesson. It's just saying, okay, it happens. Your animal walked into the other field. You were watching it. You weren't, that careful, and just pay back what you lost. Okay, so that's simple compensation. So the question here is, why would you think that the Torah requires you to pay more than what you damaged? Let's say it is in the Nizak's field. Okay, so the Torah says, well, you know something, it's true that you paid you destroyed this crop C, but because you didn't more careful, we're gonna now tell you have to pay back crop A. That would be either to teach you a lesson and not to do it again, or to prevent you from ever doing it. If the person knows, wait a minute, if I damage this guy's crop, I'm going to have to pay back, even if I damage the worst, I'm going to pay him a lot of money. I'm not going to do it. That's the word, a deterrent.
I was looking for the word myself. Yeah,
very good, a deterrent.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the other one when he has to learn from his mistakes? The deterrent is very good. The other one is that's like penitence. I know, what is that called? When he
well, it's a kind of vengeance.
Well, it's not vengeance because
No.
you're not happy that the poor guy is down. You're not like, wow, I got him back. It's really more of an object lesson. It's look, okay, you did something wrong, now you're going to get a little slap on the hand to know that don't do those things.
Either way, it's a deterrent. I mean, it's just.
But either way, it's a deterrent. The question is b'diavad, is it before the fact or after? But it's a deterrent.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's what a knas normally is. It's usually a deterrent. Okay. So this that we're paying.
I guess
Go ahead.
Is the deterrent, in a way, a deterrent almost seems like. See, I mean, the funny thing about compensation is that you can never. The fact that you have to be compensated is already irritating. What I mean is that one should get more. I don't know how to explain this, but if I lose, if somebody makes me lose $10, so they can say, okay, here's $10 back, so that's compensation. But the very fact that they put me through the tircha of having to gain something which I didn't want to lose in the first place, so I should be compensated for that as well. So maybe that's, that in a way the deterrent is filling in that gap. The fact that compensation, by definition, is not compensation enough if it's exactly what you've lost. Because you shouldn't have lost it. It shouldn't be, why should I have to deal with losing things in the first place? It's not, I was just happy with my field, and this guy's bull comes into my field, and now I have to deal with him, I have to take time out and talk to him about it and go to court, and so compensation's not enough.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, that's an interesting idea. I have to think about it.
Unless, of course, that's factored in. Like people do factor in, for example,
exactly.
legal fees, they say, right?
Exactly. Maybe that's all factored in, but not really. And also, what we have to talk about is idea of damage. In other words, we have to talk about whether my cow is hungry today. I have no food for him. Let me send them over there and grab some of the food. Or, I'm so busy, I'm doing all these things on my farm, you know what I mean? And the cow, just decides to wander over to my friend's place, and have a meal, you know what I mean? So about the is it and the not is another issue, okay, that we have to factor into this thing. There's a whole little piece in the Gemara which says, because the pasuk says shilach and bier, it's talking about both those cases, whether you sent him in or whether he went in by himself. In both those scenarios, you're going to have to pay. But the point is, basically, if we look at it in broad strokes, there's either compensation or there's penalty, okay? So what's going on over here is we can't going to say it's compensation. It doesn't work, correct? Because you're not compensating him if he destroyed the worst, then you're going to pay back the best. That's not called compensation. Elamai must be then. It must be a penalty, right? But if it's a penalty, how come the penalty is only on the worst and not only on the best? That's what Tosfos says in the second reason, okay? You see? If it's compensation, it doesn't make any sense because you're not compensating. You're giving him much more than what you destroyed. Elamai, you're going to tell me it's knas, right? That also doesn't make sense because there's a knas only if he destroys the weak stuff, but not the expensive stuff. If there's a knas, let it be double or no matter whatever he destroyed. Why is only knas if he destroys the worst? So the Gemara wants to reject, on that basis, the simple meaning of Rabbi Yishmael. He could not have been referring to the simple meaning of paying more than what you damaged, because it doesn't work. It's not compensation. It's not knas. Yeah, what did you want to say?
No, I just wanted to read in the Tosfos what I'm reading.
Okay, let's read it. So the Tosfos says like this. Okay, the Tosfos says like this. He's bothered with the question. I mean, again, the Gemara just makes its statement and goes on. It says, hey, this doesn't make sense. But you always had to put on your thinking cap and says, what doesn't make sense? You see? And that's where Tosfos comes in. These are thinking people. Okay? Just because you say it doesn't make sense, it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. Okay, you're a rabbi. I agree. You're a Tana. Whatever you say, rabbi. But but things have to not only be abided by, may have to make sense. And they do make sense. The people that we're talking here are very intellectually astute people. So Tosfos explains, Bishlema ochel, the first way he explains it is Bishlema ochel shmeina mishalem shmeina, because that's compensation. But ochel kachusha, amai mishalem shmeina, you destroyed kachusha. What are you paying more? Doesn't make any sense. Maybe you'll tell me, he says, Inami haki perisho. Maybe you tell me I find a way that it does make sense. That the reason why...
What does inami...
Inami means alternatively.
If also.
If also, which means alternatively.
If also, right? Literally?
Yes, if also. If we spell it out, it means if you need, I will also say. It's called Iboyasema, okay, but it's very briefly written as Hinami, alternatively. But it means if you need, i.e. there's something that you don't find fulfilling in my first answer, then I will give you the second answer. Okay, whenever the two answers are given, it's always because the first answer has a possible objection to it, and that's why the second answer is given. Because the first answer is tight, okay, is tight logic, so then I don't have to go anymore. No one's going to waste their time, glorifying themselves with a lot of different answers here. That's not what's going on here. So there always has to be a weakness on the first answer that the second answer is coming to address itself to. Okay? So, hey pay means haki perisho. This is the explanation.
Okay, this is excellent. Right.
Okay? Kevin de b'shmeina ein mishalem ela shmeina kamo shehezik. Since when it came to shmeina, if you damage the grade A, you're only going to compensate exactly for what you destroyed. V'lo kansinan le l'shalom yoter mima shehezik, and we don't see any knas that if you destroyed A, you have to pay more than A. Im kain, if that's true, keshe ochel kachusha, even when he eats the weak, the grade C, nami lo kansinan l'shalom yoter mima shehezik l'shalom shmeina. So when he eats the weak, there's no reason why we should put a kanas to pay more than what he damaged, i.e. to pay with the best. Okay, that was a mouthful. Basically what he's saying is like this. He's saying, since we see that there's... Yes, the knas is the issue.
Yeah, it makes sense. Knas
Right.
is the basic issue. Now, that's the shaila in the Gemara.
Right.
Why is there... And I guess there is no... is there an alternative way to understand it? Or is it just assumed by everybody that knas is the only possible...
Well, again, you could come up with another possibility and we'll put you on the side of the page. There's no problem. We're all... No, we're very open here, really. No, I'm joking, but really is no... Everything is open here. You could write all the books you want, as long as it's right, as long as it's reasonable. You see, that's all. You just have to be reasonable. But so what Tosfos, however, is coming up to saying, look, there's only two possibilities: compensation and kanas. And if it's compensation, it doesn't make sense, obviously, because you're paying him more. Elamai, you're going to say it's kanas. That also doesn't make sense. Why should you only kanas the when he damages the weak stuff and not when he damages the strong stuff? Okay, that's the Tosfos analysis here of this question. Okay, now as I said, the books people write on Tosfos. You know what I mean? No one leaves anyone away. No one gets a free ride. There's no popes here. You know what I mean? Okay, everyone has to prove themselves. That's what's, if you say something intelligent, we're here to listen. Okay, if you just say I like Rebbe Kiva, he's a nice guy. He has 17 years of learning, so we'll say you'll be in Kita Aleph. That's okay. But when it comes to being rational, these people are super rational. They're all about. Okay, so that's that's how Tosfos now spells out what the Gemara's problems. Okay, so and the important thing that I want to bring out, there's a few points here that we brought out here. One is that the Gemara, whenever it moves from the simple understanding to a more complex understanding, always has to prove that the simple understanding cannot be correct. Okay, like it says, Hashem put his hand in Mitzrayim. Okay, so we have to reject the simple understanding because Hashem doesn't have a hand, and we have to move to the allegory. Okay, but there's always has to be a reason to move to the allegory. We don't move to the allegory first. We always start, what it means is what it says. He has a hand. Now, if we show you that it cannot be that he has a hand, so now we'll move to the allegory stage. Okay, and that's a very important dynamic that happens in the learning. When we first are presented with Rebbe Yishmael and Rebbe Akiva, there's a literal way of understanding them. Again, with the background that we spoke about. I mean, it's either compensation or it's kanas. So it looks like by going into the field, if you're saying you're paying according to the Nizak's field, that you're going to be paying Shmena when you destroyed Kechuya, but only Shmena when you destroyed Shmena. So that's not going to work whether it's compensation or whether it's Knas. If it's compensation, it's definitely not compensation because you're paying more than what you destroyed. And if it's Knas, there's no reason why. You're only Knas the person when he destroys the weaker stuff. Okay? Now, because of that kasha, the Gemara now accepts and moves to the next stage. Okay?
And this is, by the way, this is a kasha that the Gemara puts on Rabbi Shmuel?
Yes.
It's an anonymous,
but it's not a kasha to him.
Kasha.
Yes, it's the Gemara analyzing Rabbi Shmuel and saying the first way to handle Rabbi Shmuel cannot be. In other words, he can't be talking in this. He can't be talking simply by paying the nizak for a meitav when he damaged a kahush, a grade C land. It can't be. Okay, so if that's not the position, then what is the position? So we always push out a position, then we have to replace a new position. So let's see the new position. Okay.
Can I ask you a basic question also?
Any problem.
When the Gemara puts a question to Rabbi Shmuel, for example, here, is it doing so on behalf of Rabbi Kiva?
No.
Or is that irrelevant? Is that
no, not at all.
Just saying, it's not okay. So it's just on its own merits.
Yes.
Just saying Rabbi Shmuel's argument on its own merits, does it stand or fall?
Right, but we're also not rejecting Rabbi Shmuel here. We're trying to understand Rabbi Shmuel. Yes. We're not trying to reject him and say Rabbi Kiva is correct. Our first stage is to understand what he says. After we understand the what, the ma, and we understand the lama, then we'll decide which way to go. That's a further level in our analysis, okay? But first we have to understand what he said before we can decide whose argument is better. What actually did he say and what actually is the argument about, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're the first move. Go ahead.
One more question.
Yes, please.
I'm trying to use Ramachal here. I assume this would fall into the category of kasha. This
Yes.
is not a shaila, and it's not a stira. It's a kasha, right? Or is it possibly a stira? I mean, when you get into the Tosfos, it's very strong. It's so clearly impossible to go either A or B that it seems like a stira.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm hesitating is like this. What the Gemara is trying to do is to give a parish of Rabbi Shmuel. The Gemara is trying to explain Rabbi Shmuel. That's its aim. What did Rabbi Shmuel mean by saying Meitav Sedeu Shel Nizak, Meitav Kamer Shel Nizak? What did he mean? That's the aim of the Gemara.
Mm-hmm.
It's rejecting a simple interpretation of what Rabbi Shmuel means.
Mm-hmm.
The simple interpretation would be you pay all the time the best of, according to the best of the Nizak's field, even if you damaged the worst. That would be the simple interpretation. It's rejecting that and saying that could not be what Rabbi Shmuel meant. No way, because that doesn't make sense in compensation or in Knas terms. Makes no sense. He couldn't have meant that. Even though simply you might say words, you might see that explanation in his words. Pay according to the best of the Nizak's field, no matter what you destroyed. That can't be. So when you ask me what's the function, the function of the Gemara here is to understand what Rabbi Shmuel means and to explain to us exactly. It's not a steer to him. It's only a steer to that. No. It's just, but it is a steer to anyone that would try to present that as Rabbi Shmuel's argument.
Right.
So we're going to soter that as the possibility of his explanation, and then we're going to come on to another meaning of what he's saying. Okay. Now, there's going to be two presentations here. How much time do we have, by the way? How are you doing?
Let's see how. I don't know. Is 15 minutes enough? I mean, I want to keep going. I'm just torn because I'm teaching tomorrow morning.
Yeah. No. I don't want to burn you out. I don't want to burn you out. I get burnt out, but I like it. So let's go here to the let's this unit. Okay. Let's finish the unit as much as we can. Okay. You see. Yeah. People learn Daf Yomi, you know.
I hate to leave this way. Just when I'm becoming interested.
No, exactly. We're getting warmed up to it. That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay, it takes time. Yeah. It takes time.
Yeah.
So now we're going to have two greens here. You see, we're going to have this green by an Amora called Rev Idiba Avin, and he's going to be knocked out by Rava, and then we're going to have another green by Rav Acha Berev Yaakov. So we're going to have two explanations of what Rabbi Shmuel means, and we're going to go from the most simple, which we just rejected, to a more sophisticated meaning of what he says. So let's see the second answer. Omarav Idi Bar Avin, what he meant. Hachi b'may skinan. Kagon she'ochel aruga ben arugos, the Mazik's cow went into Nizak's field and ate one of the rows. V'lo yadinan ikachu she'ochel ishmeina ochel. And we don't know which one was eaten. We see a plowed field, a mowed down, not the field, but a row, and we just can't determine whether this row originally was grade A or grade C quality. In that case, Rev Yishmael says the Torah requires the mazik to pay as if it was the best.
Nice answer. It makes sense. But I mean, we're assuming that even the owner was a farmer.
No one can prove. Yes, no one can prove which one it is. Let's say there was, there was the A next to the C field, and right in that middle one, for instance, that middle one was eaten. We don't know it was the end of the A field or the beginning of the C field. There's no way to determine it. just walked down a row and he started chomping away, and we just can't determine it. So in that case, the Torah says, Shmuel says, the Torah says, we give the benefit of the doubt to the mazik, excuse me, the nizak, I'm sorry, and we say the mazik has to pay the best. Now, is that compensation or is that knas? What is that?
No, that's compensation. That's just compensation based on ignorance.
Exactly. It's compensation, but since we don't know what was destroyed, we give the benefit of the doubt to the nizak and not the mazik. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what he says. Now, Rava comes along and he says, that's a nice try, but doesn't hold. Because I'm now going to show you that that can't either be correct. Why? Ma ilu yadinan di kahusha ochel lo mashalam ela kahusha. If we knew for a fact that the mazik's animal ate the weak stuff, so you would agree with me, he would only have to pay the weak stuff. Hashta de lo yadinan I kahusha ochel ishmeina ochel mishalam shmeina hamotzi michavaro alav araya. Now that he ate the best, now that we don't know if it was good or bad, you're telling him to pay the best, we have another rule, which is a Torah rule. Hamotzi michavaro alav araya. When is this? We always presume that where the money is where it belongs. If you want to now take the money out of someone else's possession, you have to prove it.
Yeah. It's really the benefit of the doubt working in the other direction here.
Why though? Yeah, but why?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a question of how we understand ignorance. Because if there's a situation of ignorance, we don't know what the facts are. So who really deserves to benefit from that, from ignorance? Is it the one who's been suffered some kind of damage, or is it the one who's accused of damage? And so it's the onus of the proof. Where does the onus of the proof fall on? The one who, the claimant, or the prosecuted?
Very good. So the rule is a rule. I learned it out in also from another pasuk. But we presume that the money, wherever things are where they belong. That's a presumption. May not be true, but it's a presumption. So if you want to upset that presumption, you have to now bring the energy, proof that is going to upset that presumption. In other words, the money is where it is. Now you want to say it's in the wrong place. Well, you have to prove it. You can't say it's possibly in the wrong place because the defendant will say, well, it's possibly in the right place. Right? So what do you have more evidence than you, the claimant? Why do you have more evidence than the defendant? You're saying, well, that's possibly mine. He's saying, well, it's possibly mine. So it's balanced. There's no reason why you should be able to take that money from him. You have no stronger claim than he has. Two claims are equal.
You know, I don't know, is it possible to use this principle of and apply it to the defendant? In other words, who's chavero? Maybe we could say that the claimant, whose property has been damaged, he's chavero, and that the defendant, he has taken, or his bull has taken, mechavero, and therefore alav araya falls back on the defendant.
But the question is, what has the persecutor taken? That's the whole question. What has he taken? It's true he took something, but if you don't know, so you have to say he took the minimum. It's true. I agree with you. He took something. I'm going to pay you. I agree. I have to pay you.
Right. Yeah.
But what reason can you show me that I should pay you more than the minimum? Maybe it's 50-50. He either took the grade C or grade A. It's 50-50. So there's no reason to give you more of the benefit of the doubt than me. So let's leave things where they are, which means minimum. And
it's so interesting.
Anything more I have to prove.
Right. It's interesting. I find it interesting because this idea, hamotzi mechavero, so it's saying that the principle can only apply when we're talking about something that is known. In other words, I know you have this much money, and therefore the onus is on me to prove that you owe me this much money. But if the unknown, if this, you can't apply to an unknown. You can't say motzi from something that I don't know. It's unclear what the damage was, so I can't apply the rule.
Say it again.
Well, I'm just wondering why initially I was wondering why this principle can't apply to both parties, because either one is taking something from the other. But I guess you can only apply the rule. This is the way you just explained it. It's, if I get it right, you can only apply this principle hamotzi mechavero to a known quantity. So if I say, look, you damaged my property. I know you have $10, and I want you to pay me that $10. So I said, wait a minute. You have to prove that I owe you $10. But if you damage property and you don't know how much that's worth, so this principle can't apply. You can't say, oh, you
right, because I have no proof that I damaged. You have no proof that I damaged more.
Yeah.
As long as the money is in other words, the money is in the mazik's pocket. You're trying to extract money from the mazik.
Right. Yeah.
So now you have to prove that anything more than the minimum is what he owes. You, the nizak, have to prove that anything more than the minimum is what he owes. The minimum, of course, he has to pay you, but there's no way that you can prove that he owes you more. You yourself admit you don't know. Okay, again, these principles are really food for thought, but now we're going to go to the third possibility, okay, because we do have a clock and other classes to teach, but let's see what Rev Acha Bar Yaakov goes, but because I want to show you again the method. The material here is very, very exciting, okay. My whole business here is talking about method. The process of doing things. Okay, I love the material. It's very, very exciting. But it's very important that a lot of people handle material and never see the process. And because of that, they miss the balance, like we're talking about here, what's at stake and the dynamic between the forces that are pushing us this way and that way. That's real learning. Okay, that's when you understand the issues and you understand the push and pull on each side. Then you're in it. You see, then it becomes very, very challenging and very, very meaningful. But it takes a little time. But okay, anyway, let's go here. So so Rava now shows that Rev Idi Ba'avin's position is impossible to support. Okay, untenable, and he doesn't come up with a new position, but Rava Bar Yaakov does, and he says, "Hachir ma'askinon kagon shahayas ha'idus the nizik ki ziboris the mazik ubaho pligay." And this is their argument. Well, first of all, here's my little chart. I made a chart so it'll help us out here. The mazik has 3 grades of land. A, C, idus, baininus, and zibris. Okay, good, medium, and poor. And the nizak also has 3 grades of land, good, medium, and poor. But the worst of the mazik's land equals the best of the nizak's land. Now, what's the machlokas? Rebbe Yishmael Sover b'den nizak sheminan. Rebbe holds that in such a case, we the mazik only has to pay according to the best of the nizak's property. And Rabbi Akiva says, no, the mazik has to pay the best according to his own property. Okay, so in this scenario, Rabbi Akiva would say, you always have to pay with the best of your land, Mr. Mazik. And even though your worst land is equal to his best land, you still have to pay with the best of your land. Comes along Rabbi Shmuel and says, no, there's a cap. I only have to pay the best of the Nizak's quality land, not the best of my land. If I have super rich land and he only has good land that's equal to my worst, so then I just have to pay him according to his best. How's that?
So that would mean that the problem raised by the Gemara falls now on Rabbi Akiva.
Exactly. Now Rabbi Akiva is the odd man out.
Right.
Why would the Torah let's say punish you? I don't know if that's the right word. Give you a kanas and tell you have to pay with the best of your land. And alternatively, what's the chiddush of Rabbi Shmuel? That you have to pay with the best of his land. Well, in other words, you can give him zibras. Now, by the way, this shift in position now is both parties are talking about payment. We're not talking about anymore. We left the idea of what word are we using? Estimation, shuma. We left that world now. Now we're talking about what species of payment can the mazik pay back the nizak. When he wants to pay back land, what type of land does he have to give? Does he have to give according to his best land, or only according to the mazik's best land?
We've also narrowed down the case. It's no longer such a broad case anymore. It's more specifically. I guess that's what's my eskinon is trying to say, look, this is not every case. This is only a situation where the mazik's land is superior to the nizak's land.
Right. However,
the application that is narrower has a
yes, we've got a much narrower argument now. A much narrower argument, right? A much narrower argument. It's a very specific case. So let me show you my other chart that you can think about. The chart, man. Okay. Oops. If I ever get, I'm new to this new word, so I have to rethink things. Where is it? Oops. No, that one we won't show you. Here, I'll do it this way. Here we go. There we go. Okay, we're going to get this one off the board. Let's put that one off the board. Now we have the mazik and we have the nizak, right? But now we have the fun. The fun is called the sliding scale. What happens if this is the scenario, that the edus is equal to the zuboris of the nizak? What would Rabbi Akiva say? So here we'd say you have to give the edus, right? And what would Rabbi Shmuel say? You have to get the nizak land, So here it looks like. Here it looks right.
Ziboris. He'd say Ziboris, because that's the best of corresponds to his edus.
Well,
Ziboris would cover it. I mean, any Ziboris would cover all three of.
Why? Wait a minute. Rabbi Akiva would say now you have to give it, because he says you always give according to the mazik, right? But Rabbi Shmuel says you give according to the Nizak,
So
the best of the Nizak's field. So he'd have to now go out and buy Ida stuff.
what do you mean have to buy? I mean,
If he wants to pay him in land, he couldn't pay him in land. Or if he wants to, he'd have to have Idis. Couldn't pay him. If he wanted to be back in land, he'd have to pay according to the A plus 3, let's call it. I don't know what you want to call it. Super A. I went too fast what I just did, right?
No, I see what you're saying. I think it's just the two charts. Yeah. See, I'm just thinking that the Zaboris of the Nizak is good, it matches the quality of anything that the Mazik has.
The best of the Mazik. That's true. So therefore,
right.
So therefore, you would say that he would that he had this. It would be adequate to pay his idios, which is equal to his zaboris. In other words, you would say Rebbe Shmuel would say you pay zaboris.
Right, because it's adequate to anything that the mazik has.
So what does it mean, mate?
Oh no! Why no? No, it's not actually.
Well, yeah, because he says you have to pay according to the nizak.
Right.
So it's not adequate.
Wait, in other words, what if the idis of the nizak has been destroyed?
No, let's say the was destroyed was the ziberis of the. Excuse me, just 1 second. Just let me think. The nizak has 3 types of land: idis, baininus, and ziberis. Right? Now you'll ask me what was destroyed. I said I don't care what was destroyed. $100 was destroyed. The animal did $100 worth of damage. We're not talking about what was destroyed anymore. We want to know if the mazik wants to pay land, what type of land can he pay back with? He's only going to give $100 to the nizak. Okay. The only question is what quality of land does he have to give to the nizak? So again, here, this was the scenario that the Gemara just presented. That, oops, just mix them up here. The mazik zibra is equal to the edis of the nizak. So Rebbe Akiva says, you know something, you have to pay not what your zib, Mr. Mazik. If you want to pay your $100 back, you did $100 worth of damage. I don't care what type of field you destroyed of the nizak. We got the estimator down there. He estimated how much the loss. The loss was $100. So you're going to have to pay him $100. Now you want to pay him in land? Says Rebbe Akiva, you have to give him $100 worth of your best land. You only destroyed Ziberis land in your terms. Doesn't matter. If you want to pay him back, you have to pay in your terms what the best is in your terms.
Right, which is why the question of knas would now fall on Rabbi Akiva's position.
Exactly. If knas is really the operating factor here. But if it's a kanas, we say, okay, you have to. No matter, you're gonna be hurting. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to pay back with the best land. Take that good, super grade A, Amazon quality land and just give it away. That's it. You're a bad boy. Now, Rebbe Shmuel says, oh come on, we're not gonna go that far. The Torah just says you just have to go up to it's capped at the edis of the nizak. Okay, that's what was presented as the problem. So I always tried to bring out that you always have to think. Torah Shabbat Peh means thinking. I must think. So you always have to play with these 2 charts and say, oh, that's good. How come the Torah didn't say, how come, the Gemara didn't say holiday? For instance, let's play an easy possibility. Why did it say that the Baininus, here, let's make him here and get rid of him. The Baininus, why did it say the Baininus of the Mazik is equal to the Idis of the Nizak? Right? Could have said that. And you give the best of yours, and he gives the best of his. Okay? Okay, let's play a little further the game. This one would be, no one would know anything here, right? In this case, everyone will agree, because there's no nafkamina. It doesn't matter which one you picked. You with me on that one? If they're both, if the mazik's idis is equal to the nizak, there's no nafkamina. Obviously, why they didn't choose that case. Okay, well, let's go down now the scale. What about this case? What would the law be?
No, but then it wouldn't.
What about this case?
You ask what about this case from both positions, right? From this.
Yeah. Well, Rabbi Akiva hold. So when I do this, so some people's reaction is, don't bother me, Rabbi. It's hard enough understanding what it says. Now don't take what it says and start playing with it. So then I pull out Tosfos and I say, but wait a minute, that's what he's doing. I'm not doing it. It's not my trip. I'm doing what they're doing. Look. Tosfos. So, I mean, I'm making fun, but really that was very, very important. A step that people could lose by trying to. There's so much material. I mean, it's gewaltig. And I'm not against Bekiah, so you have to learn Bekiah too. But it's chaval that people don't see the depth of what's going on, you see. If they did, just they wouldn't go to sleep. No pun intended. Okay, but the point is, Tosfos says, you see, V'im telma amai ta'atrei. 1 second. This one. Oh. He says, Kagon shahaisa, it is the nizar kazibris the mazik. Tosfos says, V'ipcha lo matima. Why? The kule alma moda the ein mishalam ela idish sheyeshlo. V'ein tzrik lichnot. So Tosfos answered the question. A little fast, but basically what Tosfos is saying is, whoops, don't be crazy. Tosfos is saying like this. Let's take the worst case scenario that I brought up. With possibility. If this was the possibility, Tosfos is saying, in this possibility, even Rabbi Akiva would hold that you could give him your idis, and you don't have to pay him back with. You don't have to go. If you want to pay him in land, you'd have to go back and match his idis. I agree that even Rabbi Akiva. In other words, am I saying it right? Yes. According, 1 second. Let me just think 1 second. Yeah. What would be the possibility here? If the mazik's idis is equal to the zibris of the nizak, okay? So Rabbi Akiva would say, okay, you pay according to what you have, Mr. Mazik. In this case, since the Mazik has idis, you only pay idis. The question is, what would Rabbi Yishmael say? So Tosfos says, look, Rabbi Yishmael would also agree that he could pay according to his idis, okay? And he doesn't have to pay according to the idis of the nizak. The only way he could be able to do that is to go out and buy land and to pay more of that, the Torah would never say. Okay. Anyway, that, again, consideration.
Wait, what's the other?
What? That was the other. No, the simple one is what the Gemara said. Tosfos trying the other position. That's all I'm trying to show. This position is what the Gemara
So I'm
said.
saying what would be Rabbi Shmuel's?
Rabbi Shmuel also would say, in this case, you pay with the best. You pay with the worst of the Nizak's land. In other words, you only have to pay idiot, which is equal to the worst of the Nizak's land. He would agree, Rabbi Shmuel. That's what Tosfos is saying.
So he would never ask to be he would, but he would have to phrase it differently, because he would say you don't pay idis, you're paying zivrus. Like
exactly. But in Svara, what he's saying, this possibility which he worked out, which was a possibility, Tosfos is saying would here Rabbi Shmuel would agree with Rabbi Akiva. He would never say that the mazik has to go out and buy land that's even greater than his own. Okay, and again, you have to look at that Tosfos carefully, but he's addressing that problem. So the point I want to bring out here is, again, in process, is that you take what's being said and then you have to work out all the possibilities.
I mean, this Tosfos actually, in a way, it's explaining why, who's the Rabbi Chia, I forget the last, the one who's saying that the scenario here is narrower than we would have thought. The last opinion.
Let me get his name. I didn't get his name myself. No. We're getting there. Oh boy, I gotta go up here. Yeah. Rav Ach Bar Yaakov.
Rav Acha Bar Yaakov, right. So the Tosfos, in a sense, seems to be backing up the interpretation of Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. He's saying, yes, his interpretation of the scenario, of the case, must be correct, because if you take the flip case, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, he's explaining,
Rabbi Shmuel would not have...
Well, he's explaining why that flip case doesn't make sense.
Would not have phrased this here.
You see, actually here, when we start thinking about it, you see who is getting the advantage. So in the way it's set up now, the mazik is always paying the nizak in good stuff, right? Whether it's the good stuff of the mazik or the nizak, but he's always paying off his debts with good land, right? When we switch the scenario, then there's a possibility he's been paying with what's called bad land. In this scenario, the mazik is paying good land in his terms, but in bad land, with bad land in terms of the nizak. That's the kasha. In other words, it looks good the way the Gemara set it out, but the other possibility is it would look bad for Rabbi Shmuel. In other words, he would be, he would say theoretically, no, you have to pay with the best of the nizak's land. In other words, he's punishing here he'd be punishing the mazik even more than Rabbi Akiva would be in this scenario.
Yeah.
If he really meant to go out and get his land to pay. Okay, so we would like to keep it that one is consistently on the side of the mazik all the time. Okay, or the side of the nizak all the time, but not to make him flip. That inconsistency we couldn't take. And Tosfos says as far why that inconsistency is wrong. It can't work. Okay, anyway, that's our introduction. We're going to keep moving. Okay, and of course, I think about these things a lot, and that's, as you think about these things more and more, they become more and more interesting and juicy. And again, we've learned a lot of here. The first thing that the Gemara always does is determine the what, because the what will determine the why. We can't stand if we're talking about compensation, we're talking about evaluation, we're talking about knas, unless we can settle what the case is. Once we settle what the case is, then we can start saying why did the Torah go out of its way and say this because of compensation, because of knas, because of, and so that's our lesson for today. Now, next time we get together, I'd like to go a little further. Okay, we're going to go, the next session is we're going to explain why, now that we know what they're saying, we're going to explain on what basis is Rebbe Yishmael counterintuitive. Of course, we said, simply speaking, we're always talking about what the mazik pays. You know, he's paying back an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, whatever he pays, always but what the mazik pays. So here we're going to explain in the next piece of the Gemara why Rebbe Yishmael insists that we're talking about the nizak, on what basis he does. And we're going to see that it's going to be a hekesh, which means that he's not using the simple, he's using a Torah rule that will break the simple intuitive rule, okay, called a hekesh. Okay, we'll leave that as a cliffhanger. Okay, have a great week, and
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
We'll meet next Wednesday at the same time?
Yeah, same time, same station, unless your term finishes and we can learn more,
great.
but whatever. Have a good week. Okay, well, go too.
Thank you, Ruchani. It was great. Thanks.